Hi! Welcome to the 3.5 Walls podcast. Don't know why I said it like that, but my name is Tanner.
My name's Austin.
My name's Daniel.
And today, we're watching Jon Stewart's latest movie, Irresistible.
So right off the bat, I want to get a general impression. Did you two like the movie? Because I'll put my hat in and say I did like this.
Oh, I loved it.
I also liked it. I will admit that towards the end, my feelings got really complicated, but I still liked it.
Oh my god, this was such a good movie.
It was really good.
I have found that it's very rare that I disagree with critics as a collective. I tend more to veer towards, what they're up to. And this movie has, I think as of last I checked, a 40% on Rotten Tomatoes.
I'm pulling it up as we speak, King.
Really, only a 40?
Yes, a 40.
Wow.
40.
Oh, it's slightly different. It's a 41%.
Aw, shit!
So
that makes no sense to me.
Yeah, this didn't feel like a 40% movie.
No,
I'd say this was
absolutely
at least a 6 out of 10. This is not exactly the most it's not The Death of Stalin. It's not Veep, but it's not a bad movie. And there seems to be a lot of backlash to this. Any speculation to you guys why the whole world is shitting on this perfectly okay movie?
I have to spoil it if I want to think why.
Oh yeah, we should just address that right off the bat. So we're going to be spoiling this movie because I think that these podcasts work better as supplemental shit after you've seen the movie, so you can savor the flavor a little bit more, have some other people talk about it with the knowledge of the movie. So let's spoil it.
I think the plot twist is why a lot of people kind of get turned off from it.
I loved the plot twist.
I went back and forth on it, but ultimately I really liked it.
I really liked the plot twist because I'm a big old leftist, and I think that it should be, more obvious to people that these symbolic battles between Democrats and Republicans ultimately have all of these towns that are like that withered Wojak meme that's been going around the internet saying, healthcare, please? Except in this instance, it's hey, can we please have funding for our school? Our school is about to close. And meanwhile, because this is modeled after a special election that happened in 2017 in, Georgia's 6th congressional district.
That special election!
Yeah, the Democrats and Republicans spent $55 million fucking dollars, because I think that was the first election after 2016, and they both wanted to, hold on to this little tiny, bit of rural America so that it would look good for the midterms, right? And these two colossal entities, the Republicans and Democrats, spent $55 fucking million on basically fighting each other. And you could imagine, I hope that part of Georgia actually has proper funding for shit that's important, which is what the twist of this movie does, which is what if we took that campaign finance money and spent it on things people need?
Yeah, I agree.
No, and that's exactly what I got from the twist, and that's why I thought this movie was actually really amazing.
So, but the thing with the twist, though, is that the twist definitely, I think the twist almost does, if you're really enjoying the narrative of the movie up to that point, which is sort of the Democrats are good, Republicans are evil sort of thing, which is what the movie's definitely trying to make you think.
Yeah.
If you're really into that, the plot twist kind of throws it in your face, and sometimes audience members don't respond well to that. And I think that's what's going on with the critics.
I guess, but I don't know.
I have a persecution complex. I like to think that all critics besides us are libs. Like little liberals who would really have loved this to be Jon Stewart just calling the president a Cheeto man for 100 minutes.
And that's what I was expecting. Yeah, right at the beginning, I was just oh, this is just gonna be another Orange Man bad guy. But no, it was.
It's that to the extent that Orange Man is bad,
Exactly.
But not over the top. So
they do have that really obnoxious visual metaphor in the beginning of that guy getting shot in the gut with a cannonball right after the 2016 election.
What about the thing at the end where it's irresistible, but the resist part of it is highlighted?
That is one of my big things, and it's weird to get so meta as fuck the title, but fuck the title, because I've seen other reviewers go after the fact that there is no giant anti-Trump through line in this whole movie, and then they just have that lame as shit red resist in the middle of the fucking title.
That's Neo-Lib 101. It's Lib 101. I think Jon Stewart thinks it is, I think Jon Stewart thinks the resist movement is way more left than it is.
He moved away to a farm and got the idea that liberals are these, like, kind-hearted people who actually are for people in small towns, instead of the people who go on the internet and treat people from small towns like they're a bunch of racist cults.
Like, I remember reading a review of this movie, and let me tell you, I read this on Letterboxd, but it was by a professional reviewer, right? Here were some of his complaints. Why aren't any of the people in this small town racist? That's unrealistic.
Oh my god.
I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. Or it's like, oh, and there's only one black person in this town. God, how annoying. That's what?
That
That's
was
realistic.
the joke!
That's normal! Not only is it the joke, it's normal.
Exactly, it's freaking Wisconsin. Small town Wisconsin, what do you expect? Oh my god.
So NPR wrote a review of this movie. I tried to read as many reviews of this as I could, because I just couldn't understand the backlash. I wanted to get inside the critics' heads.
Totally.
And I think NPR had the most, like, identity politics focused review, and I gotta feel like that's because there's a point in the movie where Steve Carell's character is, like, listening to the town radio and then switches over to NPR as kind of a jab. And so the NPR critic was like, now it's personal. Just wrote this review where it's just like, there are no black people in this movie. There are no gay people in this movie. Small towns don't work this way. There aren't real politics in this movie. They all just get along like a giant
To these
fucking...
people, it's over-the-top satirical on purpose. Now, if you want to complain that the satire is on the nose, that's a fair complaint. It is very on the nose. But these people are complaining that it's satire in the first place.
I think the whole charm in this movie is the fact that it's satire.
Oh, absolutely.
Like,
I liked how over-the-top it is.
yeah, like, it was so in your face. And did you guys watch the post-credits, right? I don't understand why people aren't understanding that this is satire, like, especially if this can happen. Like,
I wish this happened. I want this to happen.
so what did you think after you saw it? After you saw the post-credits?
So, full disclosure, guys, I didn't watch it originally, so we paused the podcast so I could watch it. And it's, if anything, I want to bump, I originally rated this movie 3.5 stars. I want to bump it up to 4 stars just because of that.
Hey!
Just because it contains an actual campaign finance loophole that you think people should exploit?
Yeah, absolutely. Guys, why aren't we doing this right now?
I mean, believe me, it's sickening how much people spend on marketing and campaigning in this country when there are people who, like, can't afford to fucking eat.
Yeah.
And I'd love for some of that, like, ridiculous DC insider money to, like, shower over the various rural towns that have been fucked over by, like, trade negotiations throughout the, like, history of this country the last 50 years.
Yeah. To kind of piggyback on top of that, I always find it funny if you ask two different people and they'll say two of the same things. What's one of the biggest health problems in our country? One of them is malnourishment and the other one is obesity. So it's just,
wow.
You have this group of people that aren't getting enough to eat, and you have these people that are eating so unhealthily that they're overweight, yada yada yada. Like, I don't know. I feel like that really does speak volumes, right?
We don't have good health programs. We don't have good food education because very often, the people who are very obese and the people who are very underweight are both poor.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
because of the lack of resources, they have lack of access to good food. They have lack of access to how to cook that good food. They have a lack of education on what food is good or not. Not because they're lesser people, but because the system doesn't care about them.
Yeah, so I just don't get it. How is this a problem in our country? How can both of those things be a factor? You know?
Money, money, money.
Exactly. I know.
I think my initial resistance to the plot twist was because throughout most of the movie, I'm not gonna lie, I was cheering for that Colonel Hastings to win. I was cheering for him to win. I wanted him to win. So when the movie sort of threw that in my face a little bit, I was like, damn, and I wanted to hate it at first, but then when it like elaborated on it, I was like, dang, that's cool.
Yeah, they rigged the election, so in some way they both win because it's a small town, and they kind of foreshadow that in the beginning of the movie when everybody knows, what's the main character's name? DC Gray?
Everyone knows, everyone's like,
Gary,
yeah.
Everybody suddenly, overnight, as if this is Hot Fuzz, knows DC Gary.
That was the funniest thing.
With that kind of coordination, they would be able to, vote by vote, rig an election so that both of them win. You know? Everybody in the town is that collusive.
To be real, I knew that something was up the second that he said, I'll have a bud and a burger. I knew something was up.
Is it bad? I'm enough of a shithead that I also wouldn't have known what to order at that German restaurant.
I wouldn't have known. I best I would have been like, what? I would have asked for a menu.
I know. So same. I would have asked for a menu too. Yeah.
So like, I think it shows he's a dick that he just assumes that's what they sell.
Yeah, exactly. Because that was my thing too. So yeah, like when he went in, it was like, oh, I'll have a bun and burger. You just kind of felt like this beat of just like, what? Did he just order that? And I'm just sitting there. I'm like, they probably don't even serve food, do they? And then especially because the son, if you notice, he went back and went into like the back and was just like, hey, so this guy wants a bud and a burger?
Well, yeah,
and then
it's a background detail.
Yeah.
But he went out and bought the Budweiser.
I know, but I don't think people notice that. So it's just there's little things that this movie does that are just genius, and like the mise en scène in this movie is very well done. I just love seeing things where it's just like there's these little clues that are just planted every single place, and a lot of people don't catch up on them, and I feel like that also impacts someone's view on a movie like this.
I knew I was gonna like this movie from the first 15 minutes when it spent way more time making fun of liberals than it did making fun of Republicans.
Yes, I actually think that's a lot of the critical backlash is there are people who don't know how to take it on the chin because they think they're in the right party. And so when they see people in like stay woke shirts talking about like farm to table eating in front of this guy, they're like, are they satirizing my camp? What the fuck? This movie's wrong.
Or what about at the beginning of the movie where that white lady who like represents the base, who's like, I understand our base, and then she like touches the black girl on the shoulder and she's like, our African American base, and the black woman's like, what the fuck are you doing?
That was so funny.
And then the black woman just comes in and it's like, I think expanding our base is a good idea. And the white lady immediately is like, oh yeah, I also think it's a good idea. Oh, that was such perfect. I wanted to imagine that was Nancy Pelosi in that moment.
You probably know 5 people that you could personally insert there.
I do know one.
Exactly.
Can't name them though.
No, don't name them, but I'm just saying, like, that's what's so funny. Like, you know that person, and that person, everybody rolls their eyes at them, so we can all kind of come together and laugh.
Problem is that those people are running the Democratic Party.
Those people are running everything, so this movie is amazing because we all get to laugh at them.
It also takes some easy pot shots at the right, though, don't get me wrong.
Oh, it takes pot shots at everyone. It takes pot shots at literally everything, and that's what I love. I don't know if this is going to get me canceled or not, so if it does, you can just cut it right out. As Filthy Frank once said, I believe in prejudice equality.
Like over here at the Filthy Frank Show, we support prejudice equality. Everyone gets shit.
Is that typical like South Parker line where you're just saying like, I hate both sides equally, which is a position you can develop from the left. Both parties in the American political system are technically in the same area of the political compass.
Yeah, they both suck, except I hate South Park because they say, we make fun of everyone, except Matt Stone and Trey Parker refuse to make fun of their very libertarian beliefs.
I didn't know that they were libertarians. What a couple of
they're aggressively libertarian. Don't you remember the episode where they made fun of Al Gore and denied climate change?
Oh, yeah, Man Bear Pig. Yeah.
Yeah, they had to make an episode like 10 years later, like, sorry, except it wasn't really an apology.
Yeah, of all the takes they've had right throughout the years, it's weird to think that they were so thick-skulled that they couldn't foresee climate change.
Yeah, that was a bit of an oopsie.
It was 2006. We knew by then.
Anyway, this particular movie, it's interesting because some people actually live in a bubble where they think that Democrats, what they're doing is like going to collectively help small towns and win over rural Americans, when a lot of the Democrats' messaging is mostly aesthetic choices. You know, they want to do a bunch of things that don't actually improve people's lives. They want to, like, name a street after Martin Luther King and call everything fine. Meanwhile, like, all the jobs are gone. And, like, shit that actually matters, because Democrats and Republicans are beholden to corporate interests. And it makes you wonder how much these critics are actually, like, so caught up in the groupthink that their side is completely correct, that they can't see a movie ribbing Democrats and saying that, like, the root of this problem is money, because they have that one shot at the end, in the little post montage where it's literally just money being printed and coming at the screen and saying something along the lines of like, and money had a really, like, lived happily ever after. And
they still have an oversized influence in politics, and that, I've always known money in politics is a problem. That's been a big belief of mine. But this movie, like, really made me realize, oh, fuck, it's a really big problem.
Did you know that there was going to be a law? You know those, like, things that you, like, put your water bottle under to, like, refill your water? Well, okay, yeah, so, like, the fountain, but, you know, like, those special ones that are, like, made to, like, refill water bottles, and they say, like, how many bottles of water that was saved?
Oh, those, like...
Yeah, there was actually a law that was going
this?
to be passed that made it mandatory for all of those to be put in every single national park.
oh wow, that's fucking great.
Yeah, but you know what happened? Do you know what happened? All these soda companies were coming in, and they said, hey, no, don't do that, because we're going to lose money.
What? Why would that get rejected? That's awesome.
Yeah, we want people to buy our plastic
we want people to
bottles.
buy our
And,
soda.
yeah, so it didn't go through Congress.
Or their sodas.
There was one part of the movie that kind of like links back to all this that I thought was really fucking good, and it's the billionaire cyborg who comes in randomly in this like very, very gentle and like kind of normal movie.
That I was so confused at that moment.
Yeah, I was
like,
lost.
what's going on?
Lost.
There was a cyborg in this movie. Yeah. So essentially.
But also, can we talk about how the cyborg was like a meat puppet for someone else's beliefs?
Well, no, that was the billionaire's beliefs. I actually thought this was really on point. The cyborg comes in, and they're trying to secure money, and they vaguely answer a question about supporting Israel, and the next thing you know, millions of dollars come flooding in, which is so much how it works in politics.
Like, why does the mayor of a... That's the weird thing about... I wonder if it would have worked better if it was a congressional race compared to a mayoral race. Because, like, why does anyone care what the mayor thinks of Israel?
That is the joke.
I don't know, maybe that's part of the joke.
Yeah, that is the joke. Lots of people are forced, in corporate politics, to support Israel, because another thing that, like, red and blue people come together in the Venn diagram for is U.S. imperialism, and Israel is a huge part of the U.S. imperialist strategy. We need to basically have a presence in the Middle East and antagonize the fuck out of everybody, so we dropped a state in there to, like, stoke hostility and stuff. We could have put Israel in Montana, but the U.S. hates Jews. They only use them as chess players, you know?
Yeah.
So, generally, yeah.
Now it's a big mess that nobody knows how to fix now.
Yeah. So, it is a real thing that moneyed interests do, is they'll come in and, like, you will have nothing to do with Israel, and they'll be like, yeah, so I know you're trying to, like, get money for a school, but do you support Israel? And that's what it's all about. It's about the things that Democrats and Republicans equally agree on that typically tend to fuck American people, because we're spending all this money on imperialism so that a few corporations can reap the benefits through, like, oil and weapons manufacturing and shit. Meanwhile, in like Heartland USA, their schools are collapsing, their bridges are coming down, shit like that.
And not only that, but like it's rural America.
Yeah.
Has been so screwed over in this century, so aggressively. And especially because you see these big city schools opening $50 million football stadiums sponsored by Nike. Meanwhile, these rural schools can't even keep their fucking doors open.
That's why people get pissed.
It's fucking terrifying.
Or like that some schools are forced to choose between the arts and sports. You should not have to choose between those two things.
Well, some schools even have to choose between having arts and sports and having a good curriculum, you know? Having a functioning gym, like, it gets even worse than that.
And lunch ladies get arrested for paying for their students' lunches. That's a whole, you know what, look, I'm going down a road here. That's just me ranting about America.
Yeah.
Let's go back to the movie.
So, at one point today, I started trying to seek out parts of reviews of critics who wanted this movie to be something other than what it was, because that was like a trend that I saw in a lot of the reviews where people basically asking this to be a movie that, like, where Jon Stewart walks out on stage, tells Donald Trump to hang himself, and then, like, I don't know, like, does a little tap dance. So one of these that kind of vaguely gives shape to this is from I think Danny Lay of the Financial Times. Let me read this. Given Stewart's past as the host of the liberal TV fixture The Daily Show, it's hard not to read the film as a mea culpa of events of 4 years ago. But that was then, this is now, and faced with the movie's twee both sidesism in traumatized 2020, you may feel moved to reply that these days, some meas are more culpa than others. Basically just saying, like, a lot of these reviews you could boil down to, like, yeah, I get it, like, Democrats are bad, but Republicans are Hitler. Like,
these resistance Democrats think you can't criticize Democrats unless you're a Trump supporter.
yeah.
I'm sure, Austin, you're on Twitter. You've seen this.
Yes, I've been told by the swarm of people telling me to vote for Biden, otherwise I'm voting for Trump, as if the Green Party just doesn't fucking exist.
Oh my god.
The really funny thing is I haven't actually made a decision yet. But the really funny thing is when I criticize Biden, people are like, oh, so you're not voting for him and you're going to let Trump win? And I'm like, I never said I wasn't voting for him. I haven't actually made a decision in that regard, but it's funny they assume that you're just not going to vote for him.
It's just, through pushback against people like Bernie Sanders and AOC, there's clearly a presence inside the Democratic Party that says all these very important things that result in small towns getting fucked over, we're never going to change those policies. The corporate donors are going to be a part of the Democratic Party, and what the corporate donors want is for everybody's life to be shitty and atomized, and nobody's going to have any fucking money, but you get to wear a shirt that says Orange Man Bad. Like, again, a bunch of aesthetic changes, all of the things that actually get to the root of the problem, which is underfunding for important social programs and, like, infrastructure of people's lives. That can't be decided on, but you can decide on abortions and guns. Like...
How about that scene in the movie where, like, the gun supporters at the fair, like, Black Lives Matter activists were like, yeah, we like guns, and they all put their pens away?
And there were the random Charlottesville kids, like, with the TV torches.
Yeah. But here's the crazy thing, is that was so... But the gun thing was so realistic because... So everyone's like, gun control isn't necessarily a Democrat. I mean, Reagan passed gun control. The only reason Ronald Reagan passed gun control was because the Black Panthers were arming themselves.
Yeah, that was the whole reason for that bill.
Because black people were like, wait, we can buy guns? And then the Congress is like, oh shit, wait, hold up a second.
Wait a minute. Who are you?
Here's my quote that got me started on this journey of trying to find the things critics were saying that they wanted this movie to be instead of what it was. This is referencing the scene where Faith gets on, I think, CNN and just says that she's from Deerlocket.
Oh my God.
Even though she's from a completely different fucking place.
That was so funny.
And she just straight up lies. That was funny.
This is Jocelyn Novak of the Associated Press. Faith has already walked away, but what if these two had actually hashed it out? Maybe over a burger and a bud. This whole alternative facts thing. With Carell and Byrne, that would have been an argument worth hearing.
Oh.
Maybe even irresistible.
Oh, I'm gonna toss that out because this movie delivered its message, and what all these other people want it to be isn't what this movie is.
They wanted it to be something else. So I have a question for you guys. So not his performance, as a person, do you like Steve Carell's character?
No.
Oh, no, I fucking did not like that guy. That guy made me cringe.
No, you want to know one of the first things that, like, really took me off?
What?
It was when he was staring down the Colonel's daughter. And I looked at them, and my first thought was, yo, there's gray in his beard, and she cannot be any older than 35. There's already a really huge age gap. This is a little weird.
And then they made fun of that.
Yeah, no, and then they made fun of that at the end. And yeah, so right off the bat, I was like, this isn't a good guy. And if he gets the girl in the end, I hate this movie.
And then they make you think he did, which made me really angry until they faked you out.
Yeah, I know. I was about to, like, turn off my computer. I was like, I'm watching the credits because there's no way this is how it ends.
But another thing about that character, though. Did Steve Carell do a really good job in the role?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. So here's the thing. Here's a through line I'm noticing amongst critics. They're all saying Steve Carell apparently isn't funny anymore.
He was funny. He was very funny.
Because here's the thing. They see themselves in him. They see themselves in him, and the movie makes fun of him.
Wait. I know the reason. It's because The Office ended.
They've just been mad at Steve Carell ever since The
exactly.
Office.
The Office.
That's why he didn't win for Foxcatcher.
The Office ended, so they've just never forgave Steve Carell.
He left the show 2 seasons before it ended.
But Tanner, Bears beats Battlestar Galactica.
Man, can I just shout out Chris Cooper?
Chris Cooper
real
did
quick?
fucking great in this.
He was amazing. Oh, that reminds me of maybe my favorite scene in the movie, which was the scene where they fly out to New York, which, by the way, the movie calls us out. Why the fuck does the guy running for a mayor of 5,000 people have to fly out to New York to convince people we need help? It's what he says.
I gotta attest to the brilliance of that scene. I was watching it with somebody, my brother-in-law, and Chris Cooper goes out and does this kind of like immediately cringe-inducing thing where he's like, I don't know why I'm here asking for money from you fancy motherfuckers. And then the next scene, Steve Carell is crying and you're led to believe that they fucked it up somehow. And then Steve Carell is like, I wish I could get up and hug you. And then it clicked in my head. I was like, oh yeah, Democrats are pain pigs. Democrats love to be shit on. They will throw money at you the moment that you shame them for not being a certain type of, like, woke or something.
Like, if you're like, you're not being good enough, it's like, here,
Yeah.
have $1,000.
He did dick flattening time, and dick flattening time was what they wanted on the menu.
Yo, I'm handing out free dong stomps behind the McDonald's.
Nancy, it's time for Dick Flattening. But yeah, his character did such an amazing job. Because here's the thing. I can sometimes fall into that little, neo-lib trapping occasionally. So when Chris Cooper delivered that speech, I was like, oh, damn. Fuck, that's a good speech. Because he's not wrong.
And they set it up really well in a previous scene when he announces his run for mayor. He gives, like, a mega shitty speech.
Oh, yeah.
He's, like, anti-speech. Yeah. And then they, like, very shortly after, you think that, like, he'll do the same thing again. But instead, he delivers sort of a brief yet poignant, like, sort of, I don't know, he tells him, fuck you. It's cool.
Yeah.
Like, it was a good way of saying, that was a good speech. I think we can all agree, regardless of the fact it was all a ruse, that was a good speech, right?
Yeah.
The last 20 minutes is really on the nose. There's that scene where, like, Steve Carell's character figures out the ruse.
Yeah.
And, like, the daughter's explaining it to him, and he's like, you only care about us every 4 years.
Which is true.
And then you leave, which, it was on the nose, but it was...
Yes, because it's true.
It has to be on
It's
the
always true, because you go up to all these states, they're always swing states, and then nothing gets changed up there. I only know about this because my dad actually went up to work in Wisconsin all the time, and he would always hear about all this crap from all those people up there.
I have friends who... I got some friends from high school who live in rural areas now, and let me tell you, it ain't nice. It's not great.
So, for the recent Byrne campaign, rest in peace, me and the husband went up to, fucking Keokuk, Iowa, Iowa primaries. Am I getting that right?
So jealous you guys actually... Yeah, I'm so jelly you guys actually fucking bust in. Because I wanted to, but I was always working.
So dig this. We went in there and I was expecting the same level of resentment, like they would know that we were like just paying attention to them because we're here for an election and otherwise I would never be caught dead near their tiny dying town. And then when we go there, these people are freaks. They love the attention. They're just like, oh yes, please talk to me more. I got you a glass of lemonade over here, but you gotta bend down to get it. It's like crazy.
It's like... It's the only cool thing about living in Iowa is that you get to go first.
I was always the first round draft pick.
I'm pretty sure that the fucking Iowa primary is the only reason that we have ethanol subsidies in this fucking country.
I mean, seriously, think about it. Think about how much power the average Iowa primary voter holds.
Yeah.
They hold so much. Do you know how much Pete's campaign was carried by the fact he tied Iowa?
Oh, yeah.
By the way, did you guys hear? Pete Buttigieg just declared he's already won the 2020
Are you
election.
serious?
It's
Yo,
over.
President Buttigieg!
Listen, I'm waiting. Austin, don't do this, because I've made a killing off my Facebook status as being Pete Buttigieg blah 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 every time something happens in this election. So I'm doing that come November. Nobody can stop me.
Yeah, and I'll be posting a Jeb meme.
I was just about to say, you might as well vote for Jeb.
You know, that's my thing.
Listen, how much better would things be if Jeb Bush won the election?
I mean, not a lot.
Hey, he had decent immigration policy. Anyway, back to the topic.
Rose Byrne, right? That's the actress?
Yeah, she was great.
Okay, yeah, what did you both think of Rose Byrne? Because another through line, I'm going to be referencing the reviews a lot, because apparently I watched a different movie than literally everybody else. Apparently, Rose Byrne was underused somehow. Did you guys
What? She was used the perfect amount.
Right?
Any more of her would be annoying. She was the Republicans' political consultant.
She was used the perfect amount. Why are people knocking this movie?
Like, any more would be like, her character would be very grating very quickly if it was
Yeah,
used
one of my
anymore.
favorite gags from the movie is when her and Steve Carell meet in that diner, and she licks his face.
No, that threw me off.
Yeah, that's like her intro!
That was absolutely fucking nuts. And I like that this movie had some moments that were absolutely fucking nuts, because that kind of speaks to Jon Stewart as this, like, irreverent stoner. You know, it's like there's still a lot of personality in this guy, even though, like, what The Daily Show has become, you'd assume, like late night shows are, like, the safest fucking people. And that's the thing that, like, people kind of are nostalgic for, is, like, Jon Stewart seemed edgier than the guys we have now doing late night.
Oh, he was. He was so edgy.
Like, I don't necessarily hate Trevor Noah's Daily Show. I think it's fine. But God, Jon Stewart did it so much better!
Well, a lot of context whenever this gets brought up is that Jon Stewart hosted The Daily Show from, like, 1999 until 2015. He was not good in the same window that Trevor Noah was not good. You know? Like, Trevor Noah will settle into the role, understand what works and what doesn't over time. Or at least I hope he will.
Yeah, like, Jon Stewart wasn't great at first. Then again, Jon Stewart had the 9/11 moment 3 years into his run, and Trevor Noah's been doing this for 5 years already.
Yeah, well, good luck trying to top 9/11.
Good luck trying to top Jon Stewart.
Alright, try me.
9/11,
Try me.
9/11 was such a big shit disturbing event that people still pay attention to Rudy Giuliani, even though that guy's clearly like an alcoholic vampire who's just here to haunt us and grift. So I want to keep going back to this list because I love reading these. They kind of like spark thoughts about the movies. This is from Philip DeSamlin of Time Out. Okay. Somehow, though, none of it speaks to our incendiary times. The oddly outmoded political landscape Stewart welcomes us into has a West Wing era flavor. There's not a whisper of culture wars and not a MAGA cap in sight.
So, are we all watching the same movie?
Listen, I like West Wing, and I don't understand that comparison.
I've never seen West Wing. I don't care. This movie totally spoke to our times. What it spoke to is the system's flawed and it needs to change. I don't get the argument.
West Wing is like Chuck Schumer's favorite show.
I think what this movie did, in earnest, that was really nice is it didn't touch on the things that are like, I don't know, divisive for stupid reasons that really are drummed up by the media. Like fixating really heavily on like racial divides, like the LGBTQ acceptance and all of this stuff that like we can always have contention over, because at the end of the day, small town people need basic necessities and that's not getting taken care of. Because there's a lot of critics who are like, yeah, what about if this town wasn't a completely white homogenous monolith? Then it would be a more interesting movie. What are the MAGA hat people doing in it? And it's like, I don't know if Jon Stewart needs to address that, because I don't think you can fix racism in an hour and like 30-minute movie. I think
Also,
he chose an important message, which is the small towns are like withering husks, and it would be nice to invest a lot of the money that we use to like browbeat each other into the town. Did you guys think that the movie was lacking MAGA hats?
Can I also say one thing real quick in response to just one quick thing?
Go ahead.
It said not a MAGA hat in sight. While that might be true, there was someone holding a sign saying build the wall. Okay, that's all I wanted to say. You guys can take that for what
There
it's
was
worth.
a build the wall sign.
Checkmate, atheists.
I don't know. I feel like this is the perfect movie where the critics wanted it to be something it's not. These people want to think that the roots of all evil are just tied to people and not to systems.
Are tied to Republicans.
Well, that too, but tied to a specific type of person instead of into the system that exists. Does that make sense? Am I making sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, I feel like I agree with what you're saying, but I feel like they really wanted this again to just be like, hey, fuck you if you're red, you know?
Which is, that's the award-winning strategy. I mean, it's the strategy Joe Biden's employing, where he tells half the people who ever criticize him, then don't vote for me! Orange man bad. Orange man bad.
My God. Yeah, it was, fuck. I wonder, because there was this review I read, but I didn't copy it down. It might have been, like, fucking New York Post or something, but there's just a really brief line that was really honest, which said, this movie suffered from high expectations, and I think nostalgia about what the Daily Show represented, which was like back in the day there were like screaming Republicans that were dog whistling a lot and trying to fuck everyone over, and the Democrats were dog whistling a lot, not really talking about like making a more progressive wing of the party. Times used to be simpler because neither of them were like trying to go in anything progressive or leftist, and that's like fucking like the alt-right also didn't exist. It's like these two extremes that the current political system doesn't know what to deal with, because even in our media, which is corporate controlled, you can't really talk about the left. And the alt-right, like there's really no fucking curing those people. They're actually zealots. Right. They're fascists.
Like Jon Stewart left the Daily Show right as the alt-right and the Bernie Sanders movement was rising. And, you know, I love Jon Stewart. Fun fact, Jon Stewart is one of the key... Jon Stewart and his Daily Show was one of the key things that radicalized me as I was coming into adulthood.
Colbert Report was better.
Colbert Report was really good.
By the time I got involved in that stuff, the Colbert Report was gone.
I still love how they chose to end with the song Holland 1945 by the Neutral Milk Hotel. That fucking, that messed me up. I was just like, Jesus, that was really foreboding. I was watching the credits roll and I was like, Mom, are we about to experience a fascism? Jon Stewart, I'd argue, had an easier job back in the day than political pundits do now, especially considering to get on a network that people watch, you need advertisers. You need corporate money. So you have to constantly, like, pretend that there isn't this need for more progressive reform, and that the alt-right is just this, like, strange manifestation of, like, people who could be neoliberals, but they're just too evil. You know, when really at the root of all this, it's fucking financial. Jon Stewart had it back in the day where he was talking about how some corporatists were liars and how some corporatists had better intentions. Nowadays, holy shit, all the boundaries are breaking open. We have groups that, like, you can't even fucking talk about straight on, like, a fucking public news show because your advertisers will get mad. You can't be too pro-Byrne, and you have to, like, pretend the things that made the alt-right happen didn't fucking exist because you can't talk about, like, systemic reform in a way that makes, like, the advertisers uncomfortable.
It's so annoying when you point out the fact that when you beat down on people... Here's the thing, the alt-right is brilliant at recruiting people because they target people who have been beaten down over and over and over again and say, hey man, we won't beat you up. And it's that simple.
Yeah, it's the same recruiting method that the Taliban employs. Basically, what do you do when your town has been bombed to shit, the hospital's on fire, and, like, there's no fucking jobs in your community. Barack Obama just came in with a Predator drone and bombed the shit out of it. What do? You come along, there's a group that just says, hey, we can shoot back at these people.
By the way, we can call the Taliban bad and also acknowledge we had a huge hand in creating them.
Agreed, we're doing everything in this podcast. Yeah, right.
But no, I was just about to say, with what you said, Tanner, it's like, yeah, okay, hey, we're gonna take you in, we're not gonna make fun of you, and also, guess what? It's not your fault, it's theirs.
Yeah, it's the otherism that they excel at. It's not your fault. Because here's the thing, that's inherently true. It's not your fault. Well, it depends. It's not the average person's fault that the jobs went away. It's not the average person's fault they're in poverty.
Often what's interesting to me is that I have more in common sort of with, like, very right-wing people than I do with people in the quote-unquote middle, which by European standards is still top right on the political compass. But the thing is, I just have the correct explanations for why society has gone to hell, and they have the wrong ones. You know, they blame minorities for the thing that corporations did. So it's interesting. They just, like, do the thing where they scapegoat the wrong people because that's comfortable for the people at the top. Rich people would rather have you blaming the lack of jobs on immigrants taking them rather than on bad trade deals that save the corporations millions of dollars every second, being able to use slave labor in foreign countries instead of employing your peepaw, you know?
I was just going to say, you said, oh yeah, you're worried about all these other stuff when you're not employing your peepaw, and yeah, again, I feel like that was the whole point of this movie. The guy comes in talking about Israel. It's like, who cares? This is middle of fucking Wisconsin. They're talking about all these other things, and they're making this a national issue when this is literally just, hey, our town's going to shit, and we need to change our town. Why are we getting all this other stuff involved?
So, I guess one easy, like, kind of anchor question is, how did you both feel about Natasha Lyonne's character? The
daughter.
The
Is
analyst.
she the daughter?
No, that's Mackenzie Davis you're thinking of.
Oh, are you talking about the analyst that's like, there's a bunch of single white women in this area, and they carpet bomb the nuns with abortion? Oh my god, I lost my mind at how funny that was.
Reviews consistently reference the joke with the nuns as sort of a high point of the movie. Mark Kermode did it in his podcast, and he's like the Roger Ebert of Britain. And then there were some other ones in print. Yeah, he's fucking great.
Did he like the movie?
Yes,
Good.
he did, which
Our
I
guy.
thought was
Our
really
guy.
King.
Yeah, it was really enlightening to me because American critics are just shitting on this thing because it's sort of the opposite of where Da 5 Bloods was last week, where a lot of people I felt were giving the movie sort of inflated ratings because it felt very timely, whereas this doesn't feel timely at all because, you know, everybody just wants a movie about, like, I don't know, Donald Trump cosplaying as Hitler, getting his dick hit with a bowling ball, and this wasn't that movie. And so I feel like people are kind of shitting on it. Like, there are quotes in here about how it doesn't have the anger that is required for the political moment right now. It's very, like, saccharine kind of Frank Capra
What?
movie.
I thought the movie was
Yes,
angry.
it was. It was very...
Really?
Well, okay, it wasn't like... It was in its own way, because, again, you had this rivalry between the Steve Carell and...
It's
what's her
a
face?
very calm,
Yeah, like,
angry.
it was a calm rivalry, but at the same time, you could tell that they were both very pissed off at each other, and I got a sense of hatred towards both of them.
And then they're hate fucking at the end.
But,
Yeah,
whatever.
I do like how they end up hate fucking. I was, by the second thing in the credits, I was really hoping the movie wasn't going to end that way because each subversion of the ending, I was like, the first one I was like, hell no, the movie is intentionally trying to get canceled, what's going on? And then the second one comes up and I'm like, okay, this is funny, good that's not happening from the first one, but wait, I don't hate him this much. I don't hate him as much as Ben Stiller's character in Dodgeball. Help me. And then it cuts one more time and puts him exactly where he belongs, which is hate fucking Rose Byrne.
Yeah, that was amazing.
And you know what? They deserve each other. They
No, they
deserve
don't.
each other. That is one of the most satisfying romances I have ever seen.
I don't
in a
want
movie.
any of them to be happy.
Yeah.
Because let's be honest, did anyone notice like a lot of sexual tension whenever
Yeah.
they were talking?
Oh yeah, that scene where she's in the kimono was fucking ridiculous.
How about the scene where she licks
Yeah.
him?
I have seen Pornhub videos with less sexual tension than the scenes where they're together in this movie.
Yeah, seriously, they are like, that was like the most subtle romance I've seen all year, but yet it felt so perfect.
I want to know if either of you had this reaction. When Mackenzie Davis's face first pops up during the farming montage, where Steve Carell is helping Chris Cooper's character out on the farm, and then you just see a hot blonde girl out of nowhere. Did that sort of take you by surprise, or was I the
Oh,
only
it
one?
so took me by surprise.
Daniel talked about that being annoying earlier. For me, I was just like,
That's
why?
the second that I knew that I need to hate Steve Carell's character.
Oh, because he's hitting on her?
Yeah, because now he's just a creep.
So, one complaint I have about the movie that really is like a technical thing. They establish in that scene where Mackenzie Davis goes off to meet with the mayor in private that the mayor, sort of reveals the openings of the twist and says, hey, thanks for moving back and everything you've done for the town. I think it would have been good screenwriting if they established that Mackenzie Davis was a person of some import, like she moved to a big city, or like give her some background about why it's so fucking huge that she moved back, or better yet, how she was able to pull off this fucking ruse. Because that is like preternatural knowledge of politics that goes beyond the every person, you know? She has to be a fucking genius to pull this off.
I think they try to explain that by like the happenstance that one of the guys there works for the DNC, but even then, how does she come up with the idea?
Right, how'd they pull any of this off? That would have been good screenwriting if it was revealed she was some poli-sci major from hell, who like went to Harvard or something. God, but yeah, Jon Stewart wrote a pretty fucking good movie. I'm glad this one isn't about somebody being detained in Iran. It feels a little more fitting that he made a comedy.
Oh, so you have seen his other movie?
No, I just heard about it.
Wait, what?
You
made a movie about someone being detained in Iran. That wasn't Argo?
Well, I liked it.
Argo, fuck yourself.
I thought Rosewater was a good movie. Not as good as this one, though.
Yeah, I thought Rose Byrne was good in this movie.
Hey! But no, this movie, I think this was in Jon Stewart's wheelhouse. There's so much more I want to talk about. I just want to talk about the last 20 minutes more where the rug gets pulled out from under your feet.
Okay, so I thought that was unexpected that a political comedy like this. One quick thing before we get to the last 20 minutes. I gotta say, this is a subgenre of movie I really like, which is a movie where it starts off small and unassuming and then climbs to ridiculous heights. Like, Sorry to Bother You did this, where it starts off being a comedy about a guy working for a telemarketer company, and then at the end there are, like, horse people killing cops. And I like that this movie starts off as, like, a fish-out-of-water story, and then the next thing you know, there's a cyborg in it. And, I like that about the movie, but, like, another thing that I've had ever since I got into movies was I love twist endings. And I would never expect a movie like this to have a twist ending.
Right. Like, political satires usually aren't... Especially not like the entire movie you've been watching up to this point has been a trick.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, again, the movie makes you want to cheer for the Democratic mayor, and then the movie then throws that in your face and says, you're focusing on the wrong thing.
Yes.
And I like that.
Because if you could choose between Republicans and Democrats, of course, Democrats. But if you could really choose for people to, people to win, the people of America to actually win over these massive corporate machines,
all want the people to win.
Then yeah, of course you choose the fucking people.
Exactly. And then I just, it was so brilliantly done.
I think that the deleted scenes, I can't wait for the Blu-ray to come out so we can see all the deleted scenes of them meeting up in the park at night with their hoods on, saying the greater good.
The greater good.
To each other.
Which makes me wonder, how about that plot line how about that little thing where it's like, where like the daughter was surprised that the Democrats use very dirty tactics too?
They go low, we go high.
They go low, we go slightly less low.
And then Steve Carell's like, we go low so people who go lower don't get into power. And I'm like, what are you even saying?
No, I understand what he is saying. Again, he's basically saying, like, don't go as low as the other people, just go slightly less low.
The thing is that he was going as low as the other people.
Oh, he totally was, but a lot of people don't see it that way.
Like, seriously.
Well, they're like, we're going low for people who deserve it.
Like, seriously, is it necessarily okay that the mayor, like, used his power to make it so his brother went to rehab instead of jail?
No.
I guess it's an abuse of power, but it's a good abuse of power.
Yeah.
Like, drug addicts shouldn't go to jail.
Yeah.
So, it was such a dirty little thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then they manufacture the wedlock thing.
Oh god. With a 10-year-old, wasn't it?
Yeah, and then remember when they pixelated the face and she's like, we've pixelated the face enough so you can't quite tell who she is, but if you had any vague knowledge of who she is, you definitely know who this is.
That was another area where this movie fucking shined like a diamond, was all of the fake news vignettes from like the...
Oh my god.
I don't mean vignettes about fake news, I mean the manufactured vignettes for the film that are supposed to mimic news and political adverts. Right. The fake political ads and the little digs at Fox and CNN were just 10 out of 10. I really liked the moment where they had like a fucking 6x4 grid on CNN.
I lost my shit at that! Or what about the Fox and Friends thing? Remember the Fox and Friends thing where like he's watching that segment and then the political goes on in the other room? It's like, it's almost like I wrote them what to say word for word and then they read it verbatim.
Yes, because Fox is an entertainment network and not a news network, but old people are too dumb to care.
Calling it an entertainment network is generous. It's more of a propaganda network than anything.
Yeah, it's the propaganda wing of the Republican Party.
Yeah.
And then OAN is like even more so.
But how about that political ad for his opponent, whose names escape me, but the incumbent, where he catches a football and then he slams it into this little kid way too hard.
I approve this message.
Oh, that was funny too.
Chris Cooper firing a huge gun.
Oh yeah.
I loved all the ads. They were all great.
They were
And my
fun.
favorite one where they say it's a redder shade of blue.
Yeah.
And they have this atrocious motion graphics thing where they've tinted Chris Cooper's face purple, but just his face.
Okay, so that actually happened? I was so confused.
Yeah,
I thought
no,
something happened.
His face purple.
Yeah,
I thought my laptop was breaking.
No, you weren't accidentally slipped Datura or something. That actually happened in the movie.
I was like, what's going on? What? I don't think those were potato chips I just ate. That was so good. Or how about the little thing where, like, the Daily Cause or whatever, the article, and it was like, former Marine hopes to change small-minded town. Like, oh my god. And then the stupid little slogan was, if you think he won't fight for you, you don't know Jack.
You don't know Jack.
I don't care what anyone says. That's clever, damn it.
Yeah.
I'm glad that they drafted Joe Biden to make the slogan for Chris Cooper's campaign.
No, the Joe Biden slogan would be, vote for the other guy.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
No, it'd be like, no, this is the slogan. Fat, how do I open PDF?
Tanner, it sounds like you're engaging in malarkey right now. You better not be engaging in malarkey on this podcast.
Malarkey detected. Oh no, the Joe Biden censor. It will never make it on Spotify now.
So, having read, like, literally every review linked to in Rotten Tomatoes, the general consensus is this isn't funny, this isn't what's necessary right now, and it's totally not like how The Daily Show used to be. Jon Stewart has failed us. Is it more cathartic to you two that this movie wasn't received well by critics? Because to me, that's kind of a signifier that it's so good that it can't exist in this really, like, shit moment where everybody's kind of looking back and forth for things. They don't know what they want, you know? People don't really fucking understand right now. Like, they're willing to, like, let some statues tumble and have nothing actually change about America. You know, aesthetic changes. And this is a movie that's about making real, like, changes for actual living people and starting to get at the core of problems for, like, modern communities and stuff. I think that it's nice that all of these, like, lib shithead critics didn't like the movie.
You know, I wonder if it has anything to do with the fact that, Jon Stewart was recently on the Joe Rogan podcast, and libs hate that. I get it. I mean, Joe Rogan sucks as a person, but a lot of people listen to his podcast. But Jon Stewart was on the show recently. You know what Jon Stewart's been a lot of the Joe Rogan podcast doing?
What?
Just shilling the fuck out of Bernie Sanders.
Oh my god.
That's all Joe Rogan does.
Yeah. Well, no, Jon Stewart was doing it, that was
really?
what I said. He was like, yeah, Bernie's awesome. Bernie actually gets it. And I was like, thank you, John. But in the back of my head, I'm thinking, where were you 5 months ago?
All right.
That's sort of the... Man, that's the thing that kind of blew me and my brother-in-law away, is that people couldn't picture that Jon Stewart would be a progressive. They think they, like, preserved him in this glass box in their mind as the one liberal who could kick everyone's ass with words. And in this moment, you don't need a liberal that can kick everyone's ass with words, because that doesn't fucking exist. The system made those extinct. Liberals can't win anymore. We need progressives.
Like, did they forget the 8 years of him also taking pot shots at Obama?
Yeah. Apparently.
Like, he criticized and made fun of Obama all the time.
Yeah.
And yeah, he liked Obama, but it didn't stop him from making fun of him.
Yeah. Obama screwed stuff up.
It's bizarre. I really do think people have construed Jon Stewart at, like, in their heads as this time back when liberals could own people properly. And the sad fact of the matter is there was a reactionary movement that came out of that from the right, where it doesn't matter if you own them. They don't care even if they live in the same reality as you. The only way to subvert people on the alt-right is to fuck with their economic conditions. Things that Democrats never really want to do. You can't just, like, talk to them and make them understand that women deserve bodily autonomy until they feel sorry. You need to actually make this about things that they have, like, investments in. Like whether or not they can put gas in their car and shit. Which... you know, corporations would prefer that you just get fucked on these points. And Democrats are owned by corporations. And that's like the 5th time I've said this in this fucking podcast.
Yeah.
God.
Basically, get fucked, libs.
Yeah, libs can get shit on. I'm glad Jon Stewart made a movie that was more progressive than it was liberal. Anyone who remembers him as King Liberal clearly didn't know John.
Like, John, don't get me wrong, John's not like a progressive like you and I are, Austin. He's definitely not.
No, he's not a leftist. He's
But
worth $120 million. He's not a leftist.
But he is a good guy, and he does have good beliefs.
Yeah, he didn't let Steve Carell fuck Mackenzie Davis. I believe in John.
Yeah.
You know what? Fuck it. John for president. I'm kidding. He would hate that job.
Hey, Tom Hanks for president.
Tom.
You know what?
The
I would
Rock for
trust him.
president.
Who's playing the bass?
No, did you guys see that Saturday Night Live skit where The Rock announced his presidency and his vice president was Tom Hanks?
I did. That was
Yeah.
great. Did you guys read that one interview where The Rock said he would actually consider it?
Yeah. No, I didn't.
The Rock is not qualified, but I bet he would appoint good advisors.
Exactly, he wouldn't be qualified.
Let's wind this down and give this movie some fake ratings. I suppose we should go to Tanner. You're doing yours out of 5, right?
Yeah, because I'm a letterbox guy now, so I'm like converted over to the 5-star system.
Okay.
All right. Let's do out of 5 whatevers. Who wants to go first?
I will go first, I guess. So one thing that I did want to say, you asked how do I feel that other people didn't like this movie. I'm genuinely concerned by that because I do feel like this is a perfect movie for the time, where everything needs to change. And because of that, I'm going to give it 4.5 cheese curds out of 5.
The shit they skim off milk is food.
Yeah, you can't make poutine without it.
I give this film 4 Streusel Steve Carell pigs out of 5.
I give this film 4 skinnier, crunchier green beans out of 5. I just can't get behind the fact that this movie wasn't funny. It was such a surreal experience watching this movie, having a few really good laughs, and then checking all the reviews where like the thesis of the review is like, guess Jon Stewart's dumb now. I guess he chugged lead paint until his fucking brain exploded. Like
This movie was funny. What movie did they watch?
Not this one.
what I think happened was their brains have been poisoned by. You guys been watching late night shows ever since Donald Trump got elected?
I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. I still like Stephen Colbert's Late Night when it's not a political thing.
So what they wanted this to be was a series of cool liberals in suits. Let's just take the actors from Suits. The actors from Suits playing liberals, walking around to a bunch of Republicans like they're on a conveyor belt, pointing at them and saying things like, that guy's what happens when you get the crusty stuff around the cap of the ketchup but make it a person. And then they pull a lever and they have the next guy. And they're like, that guy's what happens when a foot decides to apply to Belmont and then pull a lever. Just, they wanted a whole movie of that.
Yeah, I know.
It's their brains have been poisoned by the shitty brand of humor that is often in late night. They think it should just be a bunch of cartoonishly evil Republicans, and then you make some superficial comment about how they look and how they're like inherently like cartoon villains, and that's all they wanted for the movie.
Because it's easy to call Trump fat when you know he won't care about it, but then next thing you know, you've alienated people who have, you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, they wanted a whole movie of Jon Stewart playing himself, and he kicks down 1700 Pennsylvania Avenue, the doors, and he's got
1700 Black Lives Matter Avenue.
He's got a super soaker, and he's like, all right, I'm here to take out the Cheeto in the White House.
and then he's all like, it's like the people who pissed on you. Overall, I really like this movie. It's my 3rd favorite of the year so far. Maybe even 2nd favorite. It's kind of tied with the Five Bloods right now. I think they're both equally good. For very different reasons, of course. Yeah, great movie. Check it out. Fuck the critics. Fuck the haters. I'm out.
Yeah, mise-en-scène was amazing in this movie. I think everyone did an amazing performance, which is what I really enjoy in a movie. So, yeah, highly recommend. Great message. Orange Man bad.
I was surprised with Jon Stewart's lack of subtlety that he didn't play the Pink Floyd song Money over that shot at the credits.
Wait, is that the one that goes, money, 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 money?
No, it's a very different song.
It's such a different song. Dude,
I know it's not. I know what the Pink Floyd song Money is.
Okay,
I was making a joke.
Okay, that one went over my head.
Tanner was playing chess while we were playing with ourselves.